These are 10 lessons I've learned building a $2 million a year business on LinkedIn, and then how you can use these 10 lessons on how to sell your offer on LinkedIn. And this conversation was inspired by, I just had a chat with a client who's been struggling a little bit in our program, and we had about a 48-minute conversation, and she's been struggling to say sell her offer and get her positioning right and stuff like that. And we had a really long conversation, went really deep into it. And I think what I wanted to do is I took away from that conversation, I was like, a lot of other people are probably going to need this help, especially when they're first going out and selling their offer, or even as a reminder for people who are selling an offer and who aren't selling enough of it, especially on LinkedIn. And so I wanted to put together these 10 learnings, which we just got off the phone. I went and had another coffee. Here's the coffee I had here. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to write down the 10 lessons that I can pull out of that conversation so I can help educate like other people in doing that as well. Because I know it's like super duper hard when you're starting out in business and stuff like that. Like I remember back in December 2022 when I first started in business, in this business, I burned like $180,000 of my own money and over like 6 or 7 months. And mind you, I was real stupid. I hired a lot of people. I did a lot of stupid stuff, but I remember how hard it was. And I learned a lot of hard lessons during that time. And it took me about 7 months till I started then making back money and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to instill these 10 lessons because these are things that I wish I'd know when I started. And I chatted to one of our clients today and I just ran her through all this stuff, and it just helped her get a lot of clarity in what she was doing. And it's a lot of stuff that I always forget that I think people should know, but they don't actually know. And then I always go back in time and I remember myself and I'm like, yeah, I didn't know that. So let's go through them now. Lesson number 1, I'll call it selling. It's selling into the gap. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they first start in business is they try to sell to people, especially on LinkedIn, is they try to sell to like early stage founders. They try to sell to solopreneurs. And a lot of the time they just try to sell to people who they just see are present on LinkedIn, or they'll sell to, anyone early on. And the reason why this is a bad thing is that a lot of these people, especially when they're early out in their business, they would rather trade their time for money. They'd rather do things as well. And they would also, and because, it's because they both don't have a lot of money and they've got a lot of time. So you're better off selling to people who are more willing to give up their money than their time for things. But also when it comes to selling in the gap, I'll give you a quick story about myself. So I used to work at Zoom Video Communications. So Zoom, the actual video communications company. And I worked there from like 2019 to 2021 or 22. I can't remember what it was exactly. And after COVID, so this was after the big Zoom boom and all that stuff, I was a small medium business sales rep selling Zoom. And at that time, you couldn't sell Zoom to anyone because everyone either had it or they had Microsoft. So the only thing that I sold was Zoom Phone. And I became the number 1 Zoom Phone salesperson globally in small medium business for that year. And I sold 75 phone deals, which is crazy because selling a phone system is hard AF. But that's a terrible line. But the reason I was able to do it, right, is because a lot of other people, what they did is they sold to, they tried to sell to software companies or finance companies. They tried to sell to the cool companies, right? These are like the cool, they tried to sell to Canva and like all these cool, software companies, right? But the problem was with these software companies, they had a lot of really smart people. They didn't really need a phone system because they just used Slack, and they had really smart IT people, and they also attracted the best talent. So the gap, I'd probably say, was even smaller. The gap of the problem that existed in their business was very small. There wasn't really a problem. And so they were fighting an uphill battle. When meanwhile, me on the other hand, I sold to the logistics companies, or I sold to manufacturing. The reason I sold to these companies, and remember I was selling a phone system like actual phones, right? Is because these people had a phone system from 1998. And so they were still picking up a physical phone, and the receptionist still couldn't transfer to the other location, or they couldn't transfer to a mobile phone. So I came in there and I was like, hey, I've got this phone system where you can still use a similar phone on your desk and you can transfer it to someone's mobile phone, and their minds would explode. And then I'd be like, yeah, sure, it's also even cheaper than your current setup. And you can actually, when someone goes away on holidays, you can manually change their voicemail so it says they're on holidays without them needing to do it, because that's a big problem in companies. And I showed them this stuff and it was a huge saving for them. And so what I was selling into was the gap. there was a massive gap here. And I was selling the exact same problem, like the exact same thing, but the problem that existed with the gap, it was huge, right? And because I was able to do that, I could sell a lot of stuff, because when I went and presented the offering to people and I looked at their current setup, they had all huge problems there. And the other thing is, I was selling to established businesses like logistics and manufacturing who make a lot of money. Sure, they're not as like tech advanced, but it didn't matter. And so a big issue, one of the lessons I've learned starting out, a big issue that people have is they don't sell into the gap. They just pick early stage founders and solopreneurs, all these people who have no money and who are also really savvy and who also have a lot of time. But you want to sell to people who would rather give up their money than their time, because to them, their time is worth more. And you also want to sell into the gap. And so this is really crucial when you're building your offer, because whatever gap you can fill, that's going to be the value of your service. You could sell a service like to a startup founder from say Y Combinator, right? They might only buy something for $300 because they're like, man, I can get that from somewhere else. But a manufacturing company might pay you 30 grand for it, just because the value you can deliver for them. So that's lesson 1. Lesson 2 is offer and positioning. So when it comes to your offer and your positioning, most people are making these massive $100 million Alex Hormozi offers, which I love Hormozi. He's great. But the issue is, when you make this giant offer to people, it intimidates them. You make big promises, people get scared. So what's happening in the market right now is we're in a trust recession, right? A guy, Rabi Abdullah, I can never pronounce his name, he talks about that a lot on YouTube, right? Trust recession. And so people are like, when they see these crazy guarantees and all this kind of stuff, they get scared. They're like, this is a lot. But also, when you come up with a big offer of something that you do solving a massive problem, people get intimidated by it. So let's say my brother tells me, hey Matt, go to this 10-course degustation restaurant for dinner, and I've bought you and your partner, a voucher, you can go there for free. Still, it's a commitment, because we have to take a whole Saturday night out. We have to buy outfits. We have to get an Uber there and back. It's a lot of time invested. We could have other things on. Even though it will be a great thing, even though my brothers recommended me to it, it's a great thing. But like, what if a random person or someone I didn't really know or trust recommended me to this 10-course thing and gave me the voucher? It might be quite low that I'm going to go. And that's the problem with these really big offers that people have. So what you want to have is more of like a micro or a small offer, something that's tangible. The handle that we used to have is we used to show people how to get 5+ warm leads a week on LinkedIn. But the thing is, the offer that you have and the positioning that you have, like you want to position around making things feel easy. It doesn't mean that's the only thing that you can offer to people. It's just the gateway drug of starting to work with you. Because most people, when they start working with us, we help them with leads. We also help them with sales. We also help them with creating an offer. We also help them, with content. Like, there's all these other things which need to happen in order to get to this point. But when they come into they're sold into the initial thing. And so you need to show something that's tangible, easy to digest. I call it a red frog offer. In Australia at like school running carnivals and athletics carnivals, people walk around and they give people a red frog. It's like just a little lolly. Everyone takes one, even if you're on a diet. It doesn't even matter, because that's what you want your offer to be. And your offer that you initially give people, it might be free or paid. It doesn't matter. It's just a mini offer that you give people to get in the door to start working with them and building trust. Because ultimately, this is one of the other lessons later on, your whole week should be spent starting out 40 hours a week, talking to potential clients and marketing yourself, or actually working with them for free or paid. That's what you should be doing, because the more hours you spend with people, the better offer you can create. Because in the beginning, you suck. And I remember sucking really bad. Like my offer used to be cold calling, and I cold called for an accounting firm. Terrible idea, because accounting firms can't sell, but I learned the hard way. Number 3, you build through conversations. What this means is that the more chats you have with ideal clients, the more you distill down the offering, and the more down you get from the lump of coal to a diamond. And so when you're having the whole goal of like having conversations with people is to ask them questions to truly understand the problem. And so there was a client in our program, Andrew, and he got on a group call one time and he was like, hey, what do I do, Matt? I asked him where he was at, and I was like, honestly, you just got to start conversations with your prospects for a month and just reach out to them and just get on calls with them, ask them what they need help with, because then you can see what your skills best solve. And so he did that. Came back to me a couple weeks later. He's like, Matt, it worked. He's like, I even then wrote a post afterwards and it only got 1 like, but I got an inbound lead. It's because he wrote his content from the chats that he had. So you want to go from like chats to content, because a lot of people try to do content first, but your content doesn't attract people because you don't even know what they want because you haven't even spent time with them. And so you build through conversations. And so the way I built our positioning from our business is I had 150 Zoom meetings and in-person meetings with small businesses until I finally worked out that they only needed a few leads per week. And LinkedIn is really easy because most small business owners are not good at sales because they've never had to sell from like a paid ad or cold email where you have to build a lot more trust. And it's better for them just to leverage their current connections through LinkedIn. And so like, that's why I chose LinkedIn as the medium, to make it easier. And then I built the solution around that, but it took me like 7 months and burning a lot of money to get there. But it happens through conversations. So people just don't have enough conversations. And the easiest thing to do is like, for your target market, just say to them, do you even need this? Like, is this even a problem? Here's my offer. Is this even a problem? And if they come back to you and they go, no, you're like, what do you actually need? And then they tell you and you're like, oh, my skill set can actually solve that. And so it's the conversations dictate the content that you make, because content is like secondary. Content, what it does is it makes it easier for people to trust you and easier to buy. It's not the thing that you need. Every piece of content you create, the goal of the content is to start a conversation with another human. That's the goal, because when you sell higher ticket, I'm not selling low ticket here because it's a fucking bad idea. Do not sell low ticket when you're going out there. And anyone that tells you that otherwise, ask them and say, hey, show me how many people have made it with low ticket. It's just like, it's a terrible idea. Because with low ticket, you need like, the thing about low ticket is you need about 100 times the leads, but everyone's problem when they're starting out is leads. So why would you sell something that requires more leads when you haven't even solved the lead gen problem? So the only people that should sell low ticket who have fucking boatloads of leads. That's it. And so, chats lead to content. And so Andrew did this, and he got on quite a few calls with people, and he even got a case study or a testimonial with them because he recorded it, where they just said, Andrew, I just want to let you know, this is the most valuable conversation I've had in my whole business in 6 months. And they said that on a call when he was giving free advice to someone. Now he has a testimonial or a case study. You only need like one, and then that's it. Next one. So underestimate the volume. So this is a huge problem that's easily solved once you understand this. Every person that comes out of corporate that I work with, every single small business owner, they severely underestimate the volume of lead gen you need to do and chats that you need to have in order to make it. And so when I say most people are used to, in small business, just going to networking events and chatting to a few people, getting 1 or 2 business cards, having a coffee chat next week, right? And then they build their business through that, right? That's not how you do it through LinkedIn. The way you do it is you start 150 conversations a week. You have chats after chats after chats after chats. Because with LinkedIn, it's leverageable. You can chat and close deals from your phone, sitting on the couch. I closed a deal the other morning when I was walking Teddy, my dog, because a guy came back to me and he was super keen, and I closed him via chat, right? And I'm going to put out a video about that as well. But like, people just underestimate the sheer volume of conversations that you've got to start. Like, and if you look at anyone who started out in business, if you look at Stephen Bartlett, from the guy from the Diary of a CEO, that guy, when he first started, he says it all the time. He started by sending thousands of cold emails to different CEOs to give him a shot, and he opened doors. People just don't market enough. That's the problem. But the problem, the marketing, and when they do market, is a lot of the time they do the wrong marketing. Is they'll try to create content, they'll try to run ads, they'll try to do all this kind of stuff, right? The way that you market at the beginning is just have boatloads of conversations with people. That's the way that you market, especially if you're by yourself or with a small team, right? Most small businesses are all grown, usually from referrals, from the founder being a key person of influence. They put themselves out there, they chat to tons of people, and 10 years later, they build a $5 million a year business because they just opened up all these doors. And the people that win are the ones that start tons of conversations with people and have these conversations that lead for months. Like, we had someone join the program the other day after we've been chatting for a year, and they literally messaged me and they said, hey Matt, had some money come in, have you still got to do it at this price? And I was like, yeah, dude, let's do it. And he's like, sick, and joined. It's so these conversations that you have is the social equity that you build over time. And so you need to have tons of volume. And anyone that comes out of corporate is usually really shocked at this. And a lot of people feel, especially a bit older sometimes, and I know I'm stereotyping, but I've seen it a lot, is that they feel a lot of shame when they reach out to people and they put themselves out there. And they also the other thing which I haven't brought up, is they deal with a lot of rejection. And the thing is, in business, especially starting out, rejection is part of your life. Like, there's reasons why I take Teddy for a walk in the morning, and I usually don't take my phone with me, like if I can. And I try not to open my social apps because we have 500 people in our program. There's always at least one person a week who messages me, says they want to cancel their subscription or membership, right? Because 500 people, right? And every time that happens to me, it hits me deep. And so knowing though that emotional rejection, even if I log into LinkedIn and I see someone's like, I actually don't really want to meet up anymore, I'm just like, oh, it's just like it hits you, and you just got to deal with this rejection, and you just got to put yourself out there, and you just got to feel that shame, like, and just deal with it. And then you kind of want to just, in the end, just have no shame. And the people in our program that usually win the most just throw shame out the window, and they're like, fuck it, I'm just gonna reach out to everyone. I just put myself out there. I don't give a shit if I look like a tosspot. And like, that's how they win. Next up is 5. Lesson 10 is making or saving money. When you're very, very first starting out, the initial offer that you have, if you can, if you have not chosen, like if you are if you spend a long time helping people with certain things, like I can't think of it, right? Like, but if you're starting out, you should help people make or save money. It's the easiest metric. If you can go into someone's business, and if you can be like, hey, you pay me $2,000, I'm gonna make you 10 grand. If I don't make you 10 grand in 2 months, I'll give you your money back. Fucking everyone's gonna take it. Well, they're not. So like, we have a client who joined our program, like who's like an established creator on LinkedIn. Every established creator that joins our 7-figure creators program, I get him to run an offer campaign. Till he last messaged me, I think he closed $35,000, and it's like $1,200 to work with me per month, right? And he made 35 grand. So he's pretty much paid for 2 years in advance. And the reason is I get people to work with me at the start, and I help them make boatloads of money if I can at the beginning, because then once you help people make or save money, they can always equate it to that. So then people what they never really do a lot of the time is they never equate how much time it took. It's much easier to say, hey, you pay me this, I give you this, but obviously there's another thing in there, which is like, how much time do they spend on the thing? But if they make money, then they know they're going in the right direction. So when you're first starting out, you just want to make an offer that can help people make or save money. And just don't be biased. And people are like, oh, I don't really want to do that. It's weird. It's like, you don't have to do it forever. Just do it in the beginning to get heaps of leads, and you can change your offer past that point, because it's just the easiest way in the door. Like, if you're trying to sell, I'm not saying you shouldn't do this, but like, let's say a couple is having marriage issues, right? And let's say that there's a therapist who's like, someone refers them and said, hey, there's this therapist, the best therapist ever. They're $1,500 an hour. People would be like, what the fuck? Why is this therapist $15 an hour? But it doesn't matter if they could save them their marriage. And everyone knows that your marriage is worth way more than like a couple of sessions at $1,500, but they can't compute. But if someone said, hey, go pay this person, $1,500 a session, and in the end you're going to make 10 grand, they'll trade it every day of the week, right? Because you can equate the value in your brain. So making or saving money is like super duper crucial when you're first starting out, if you can. And it's just, you want to play the game on easy mode. And then, yeah, it's just, if you don't do this, you play on hard mode. And let's say you're a mindset coach or something like that, right? Like, even if you're like a mindset coach, you're like, okay, how can I tie this back to them making more money in their business? Like, how do I do that? And I'm not saying you have to do it. I'm just saying it does help a lot if you can somehow have a metric. And this is especially if you're first starting and you're like, you haven't really firmed up your offer. Just choose the making or saving money. Even better, making money. Better than saving money, like, is even better. The next thing is you are your case study. When everyone first starts out, they don't have case studies with people that they've worked with. Like, they don't. Nobody does. Like, I didn't have a case study. The way I got my first client is I went to lunch with this recruiter who I knew called Adrian in Australia Square in Sydney, right? And we both got, I think it was Cali Press bowls, burrito. I think it was burrito bowls, or maybe we got Guzman y Gomez, like Mexican, super good. And we both sat down and we were chatting because we were just mates. And I was just like, yeah, I'm thinking about doing my own thing. This is in like November 2022. I'm thinking about doing my own thing. He's like, what are you doing? Might do like lead gen or booking meetings for some people. He's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I've booked like, about 150 meetings for the company I'm at, but we don't want to keep doing our own thing. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do. And he's like, man, like, do you reckon you could book meetings for my company? I'm like, yeah, maybe. Like, I might be able to. And he's like, well, would you want to book meetings for my company? And I was like, yeah, like, sure. Like, how do you want to do it? And he's like, oh, we could just do like a paid per meeting. And I was like, okay, sick. And so I just took my like credibility that I had, I didn't even like think about it, but I just talked about what I did and how I helped people. And in the very, very beginning, like, and that's how I got my second client. I just went he's like, cool, go talk to this person who can help you get a website. And I think it was the same day or next day. I chatted to her and we chatted for an hour and she's like, yeah, can I like, I'll build you a website and trade it for sales meetings. And I was like, cool, I'll cold call for you. That's sweet. And so like, I just use myself as the case study. And so what a lot of people undervalue is like their own credibility. Like, so let's say if you've been a sales rep for 5 years and then you want to get into working and coaching small business owners how to sell, as an example. Yeah, you don't have case studies, but you have 5 years of sales experience. And so I remember when I went and chatted to Nick, my old boss when I used to be an accountant, and he became a client. And I remember like we were going to do cold calling from him, but I spent a lot of time just giving him sales training. And he was like, that's worth, I don't need the cold calling. I just got sales training because you've been sat in sales for this many years. And so you think about like, you know, an accountant, like let's say someone's been an accountant for a long time and now they're going to help you with like, you know, they've been an accountant for 5 years in corporate and now they're going to help people do their personal finances so they can save more money and then do better investments, right? Let's say you're going to do that. You don't have to say you got any other clients. You just say you're an accountant and you helped all these massive companies. So that's why when you pick the thing that you're going to do, you just want to pick it based off experience that you have. And sure, you may not have any experience at all, but like your experience, let's say you're really young and you're going to help people do lead gen, just say, hey, I've read like 50 books on lead gen. I've watched all these YouTube videos. I know everything. And you would be my first client. That's why I don't want to charge you much at all or anything else on a performance basis, because I just want to make you my first case study. Like, and I've done so much research, and a lot of people discredit the amount of time, especially if you're younger, like the amount of time you spend on like social media apps and stuff like that. Like you could probably sell how to do TikTok or Instagram. Like you could probably literally sell a service that's like, here's how to set up a business Instagram. And here is like, this is even a service, right? You could, if you're on LinkedIn, right, you could show a business owner just how to set up LinkedIn and how to post and how to comment and reach out to people, like just how to use the platform. And that could be your 1 hour thing that costs, you know, $50, just walk through step by step. And I know hundreds of business owners that would pay for that because they just don't even know where the fucking buttons are. Like, and so there's a, you know, when you're talking about this stuff, it's like you are the case study, and inevitably in the end, it's like you want to just back yourself, because like, you know, one of my friends, my best mate Andy, his partner's a lawyer. And so like when I have some stuff, obviously she can't give like real legal stuff, like, you know what I mean? But like sometimes I float ideas past her and stuff like that, because then you get like, I'm not saying it's advice, so I remove that. But like when you talk to certain people and like they have credibility, like my dad who fixes cars, and then I talk to him about cars, right? They just have this certain level of credibility. But like even who I think, yeah, let's take my mate Andy as an example, right? He's Cuban. He spent a lot of time understanding Cuban history, read a lot of books, right? Because like his family was like kicked out of Cuba back in the day. But if I was somebody who wanted to understand how to search for my family lineage in Cuba and really kind of reach back out to them and find where they lived and stuff, he would be someone who can teach people how to do that, because he's just done it. And so you want to just pick these things, because ultimately what you want to get is the conviction to be able to then work with more people. So just back yourself. You're the case study, and just tell people straight up, be brutally honest, be like, I don't have any other clients. Like, just tell them. But a lot of the time, like the person who I was speaking to today, and we chatted for about 45 minutes, she used to be a lawyer. And I was like, just by the sheer fact that you used to be a lawyer showed that you went through law school and you roughed it and you became a lawyer. I'm like, I would just want to talk to you because you're a lawyer. like that is enough credibility enough, you know, because you did law school, which is like nobody makes it through, and you were a lawyer. So it's like, sure, you're going to do something different now, but if I found that out about you, that would add so much credibility. Anyways, that's enough of that one. Next thing is only do 2 things. So what this means is there's only 2 things that you want to do in the beginning to be successful. And that is reach out and work with. And I'll break down each. The where you should be spending your 40 hours per week when you're first starting out is you should be spending 40 hours a week either reaching out to get customers or working with customers for paid or for free, and 40 hours a week. Barely any time should be spent building, no assets, no nothing. Like we got a client who closed £120,000 2 weeks ago, and he hasn't posted on LinkedIn in 1 month. You just chat, DM people. Like, you don't even need to post content to even make money. Like, you could literally, like right now with my skills and abilities that I built over a long time, if someone said, Matt, you're going to make the most amount of money you can in like a week, I'd probably cold call people and try to sell really high ticket stuff. Most likely. That's probably what I would do. Or just DM people and be like, hey, and get on calls with them. But like, the only two things you want to do when you're first starting is reaching out to people, shamelessly reaching out, chatting to people, booking meetings with them, and then working with people, whether it be free or paid. Because if you do 40 hours a week of free work with your ideal potential client, that's like 6 months of like trying to learn online, and then you'll build your product. But there's a third thing which people try to do, and this is the thing that everyone does at the beginning, is they try to build stuff, build things. This is the thing you don't do. This is gone. You can build nothing. Like, that's why I have a program online where it's like we show you how to create your offer so you can just start talking to people. So to remove that barrier of having an offer and a pitch deck, right? It's a big problem. And so you just want to remove building stuff, reaching out and talking to people, and trying to work with people either for free or paid, right? I'm not going to make it red. I'm going to make it blue. Free or paid. And that's it. Because everything else doesn't matter, because anything you build now, after you chat with 10 people, you're going to throw it in the bin and start over anyway. Like, when I look back at the start of our program, when we first started this, I'm like kind of embarrassed by it. But a lot of people have said, hey, it was great. But like, I'm embarrassed because the knowledge I've gained now from so many people I've talked to. And so that's a big problem. Building is not, you sell before you build. Because you don't like, people are like, oh, I've got to spend like this many weeks building stuff. It's like, you don't even know what to build. You never like worked with anyone. So how would you even know? It's like, and the hardest companies in the world to build are like software companies, because you get to spend so much time building stuff before you even monetize. But like, that's why like no software companies make it. And so you don't want to be a software company. And if you do, you can become one later after you work with so many people that you know their problems, so you can build a product to actually solve the problems. And that's how everyone does. They never start, like usually never start with software. And that's why, there's these big venture capital companies that give Y Combinator people $10 million, because they need $10 million of run rate to work out what the fuck they're even going to build and what they're going to sell. But other people who built software companies don't need anything. And so next up, the reason you work with people for free, and I'm going to put this here, is to build the conviction so you can then start charging people. Like, when you start working with people, like, you'll feel like imposter syndrome. You'll be like, I feel weird. That's why if you can start working with people for free, and obviously you're like, oh, I want to make money, but like at the same time, it's a learning experience for you. You work for free, because then what happens is you build a boatload of conviction. And conviction is the sales superpower. This is like, when you think about people who are like I grew up really, really Christian, right? People who are really religious and Christian, right? They have the ability with no sales training to meet someone at a school event or go to the park, have a talk to them about church, bring them to their church, follow them up after, see how they went, and then eventually the person like literally joins their religion and becomes part of the church, right? They've literally fundamentally solved a change in the person's like literal psyche, right? Their whole way of being. They sold them this thing, right? And obviously the religion that they did helped a lot, and the people in the community, but like because they have absolute conviction that they really feel deep down this is the right thing for the other individual, they were able to just do it. And this is just, if you look at anything in life, you know what I mean? It's like if I look at like me doing a CrossFit workout, and let's say I've got this much time to finish a workout, it's like, I'll just get it done. No matter how I feel, I'll just get it done. And that's what conviction does. You just makes you push through and it's like, if you think about like your exams and stuff like that, or assignments, like, when the pressure comes to it, you just get it done. And that's why conviction is your sales superpower. And working with a lot of people, having a lot of conversations, gives you an insane amount of conviction. And then it creates this like thing that keeps going, where you can keep delivering more value. Then the next thing is go deep. And so what I mean by this is, a lot of people when they first start is they'll say, I help B2B business owners generate leads online. And you're like, sure, you're competing with everyone. And the reason why people do that is because they want to pick a really large total addressable market, because they don't want to miss out on leads. But by trying to sell to everyone, you end up selling to no one, because nobody believes you. And they're like, how can you do it for this person, this person, this person? Even though fundamentally, if you sell LinkedIn lead generation, it's the exact same fucking thing. It literally doesn't matter. But the problem is with your positioning. So if you're starting out, when you work with one person, right? After you've chatted to a lot of people, you finally found, okay, I can help this person. I work with them for free. I helped them, and I'm helping these other two people they know, then that's when you go deep. So for me, for example, if I was going to start again, I would work with Sydney financial advisors. And who are, let's say, about probably 30 to 45. They're making, let's say 200K, and they want to get to $1 million. And they've only built their business off referrals, right? And they want to start selling online on LinkedIn, right? The reason, like, say I would pick these people is because I know from working with so many people, I know that usually they've got a really strong network. People in financial advisors who are hustlers, they can sell, which makes it easier. They've just never marketed themselves online. They don't understand copywriting, and the sell for a financial advisor, they usually just need to market way more and put themselves online. And usually if they've built the business off referrals, it means they're good at talking to people, right? So I know that if I could kind of take this person, I could probably get them to $1 million a year just by building an email list, doing LinkedIn lead gen content, reaching out, having more conversations, getting an internal SDR in their profile, reaching out to people. Like, I know the things that would help them, because I also know that when financial advisors get a new client, let's say the client pays them 2.5K a year, usually they stay for 6 years, right? And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's actually a 15K client in their mind. They think about their book value, their lifetime retention, same as like a mortgage broker and stuff. And so I would pick this one, and then all my content would be based off them. Because the reason is, if a financial advisor came along and they were like, they saw my content and they said, I help Sydney, like real specific, right? They'd be like, well, they would just assume that I can help them. Like, assume. Like, I remember getting on, having a sales chat with this person, and he was like, yeah, I'm working with this other LinkedIn lead gen recruiter guy. And then he's like, yeah. And so I looked at the guy's profile, and his profile was garbage. Like I'm not knocking him, but I'm just like, you don't know who it is, right? But it was terrible. His content was terrible. Everything was terrible. The way he won this other client was he literally just said, I help Australian recruiters. That's it. And so many people think about going so broad. You want to go deep. You want to go super deep. And that way, and you only need to do it, the way you do it is you only need to have like one person, like one case study. You say, I'll help this person do this. And they just automatically assume that you can do the same thing, even though on the back end, it's exactly the same. I actually want to run a test where I want to make another account, or get someone to make an account and then just position it, because I know how many clients that I could close doing this. But you just want to go real deep. Once you get with someone, you're like, cool, this is the person. I was really able to help them. I want to learn every fucking thing I can about financial advisors. I want to learn their language. I'm going to go to their corporate events. I'm going to like rock up and meet them in person. I'm going to learn absolutely everything about them and then go super deep. And the people that do this, like, I'm part of a business group, like a mastermind group. There's about 100 people in it, and they all make from like usually $2-3 million a year to $100 million a year. And they all did this. They're all in a deep niche. Like, sure, to get to like software sales and stuff, we do 200 million a year, you got to go broader, right? But like, it doesn't matter. When you're selling high ticket, the deeper you go, the easier it becomes to position and market yourself, and people automatically assume you can help them. The last point that I want to make as well is chats over content. Like I said before, there's a client of ours who made £120,000 in a week, hasn't posted in a month, and he just sent DMs. Because you should be having chats before you should be creating content. Because the content you create, unless you have conversations with people, is going to be garbage. You're just going to be ripping it off ChatGPT. Sure, you may be able to write well, and you may be able to get a little bit of the way there, but it doesn't matter. Like, I've got clients, I had one client who did a post that got 298 impressions. Mind you, this is before I was even working with him, so I can't take credit at all. 298 impressions, 10 likes, 3 inbound leads from it, closed £28,000 of revenue. Like, because he was a fitness coach for lawyers, and he showed a transformation image. Another client, Andrew, who I mentioned before, he wrote one post that got 1 like and generated an inbound lead, because he wrote the post after he literally just had the conversation with someone. And so he didn't have good copywriting ability to write something to go viral, but the person read it and was like, you understand my situation. You understand it. And that's what like really good copywriters do. They get into the psyche of people. And that's why let's say if you're a LinkedIn creator, right, you probably read my content and you probably like, or watching this video and you're like, how the fuck does he know all this stuff? It's like, because I've just spent like so long only obsessing about this one thing, about just generating leads and making money on LinkedIn. Like, that's it. Like, it's the only thing I think about. Like, and then people are like, oh, Matt, why don't you offer cold email or this? And I'm like, no, I'm the LinkedIn guy. I'm going to stay the LinkedIn guy for a long time, because we're not even out of juice now. We can still keep going. We're doing after last week, we're doing like $2.5 million a year as an example. We're not even like close, but the way I can create content that's like really magnetic and attracts people is because I just have boatloads of conversations. And what most people do is they think that they need this content first. Like everyone talks about how to build your digital empire, you need to like, first come up with your angle and your story and then create content for 6 months and build low price digital products and all this kind of stuff. It's like a fucking load of BS. Like you will lose money if you do that. Like I don't understand how people can sell stuff that does this, right? The way that you actually make it is you go to LinkedIn Sales Nav, you find people, and I've got videos on it, right? Find people who are your ideal client, reach out, talk to them, start working with them free, keep working with people. Then you want to do high price productized consulting where you help people do one thing, right? And like, that's it. And you have heaps of chats with people, heaps and heaps and heaps of chats. I'm talking like hundreds of conversations. Like we had a client of ours who she did really well. She's like from India, right? And so she's already at a disadvantage selling to like the US and stuff like that because people just already discriminate immediately, right? And it's just, I know I'm not being PC saying this, but like I talked to her about it. It's obviously known. And like she's at a disadvantage, but she closed like 8 clients when she first started because she started 300 conversations on WhatsApp with people and got their phone numbers and just said, what do you even want? And by the sheer volume of conversations she had, she was able to way outperform people who like are at a bigger advantage. Let's say they're in the US selling to the US because like culturally you just align and it's easier. So she was at a disadvantage and she did that. The reason is because she started so many conversations, and like the conversations that you have create the momentum and the push. Because if we go back to, only doing 2 things, reaching out and then working for free to do stuff, because 40 hours a week of your time working with people, if you get to work with your ideal clients, is infinitely valuable. Like it's like so valuable for you because then you actually work out what they want. And then over time, what happens is you distill your offer more and more and more. And then you create the productized consulting offer that you're like, this is the thing, because you've gone so deep and you know these people. Anyways, guys, those are 10 lessons I've had from building a $2 million business on LinkedIn about creating and selling your offer. Inspired by a conversation that I had with a client as well. I can really try to get back on track because she's just really struggling. And just because starting a business is fucking hard. And that's why I create these videos as well, because I just don't want you to suffer from the same things that I did and not learn. Because anyways, catch you later, guys. Peace out.